This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, go visit LibriVox.org. Poem read by Eugene Pinto. For more information about Eugene, visit climber53.com. This here poem was written by Mark Twain and is in his book Roughing It and is called The Aged Pilot Man. On the Erie Canal it was, all on a summer's day, I sailed forth with my parents, far away to Albany. From out the clouds at noon that day there came a dreadful storm that piled the billows high about and filled us with alarm. A man came rushing from a house, saying, "Snub up your boat, I pray. Snub up your boat, snub up, alas, snub up while yet you may." Our captain cast one glance astern, then forward glanced he, and said, "My wife and little ones I never more shall see." Said Dollinger the pilot man, in noble words but few, "Fear not, but lean on Dollinger, and he will fetch you through." The boat drove on, the frightened mules tore through the rain and wind, and bravely still in danger's post the whip boy strode behind. Come board, the captain cried, "nor tempt so wild a storm." But still the raging mules advanced, and still the boys strode on. Then said the captain to us all, "Alas, 'tis plain to me, the greater danger is not there, but here upon the sea. So let us strive while life remains to save all souls on board, and then if die at last we must, I cannot speak the word." Said Dollinger the pilot man, towering above the crew, "Fear not, but trust in Dollinger, and he will fetch you through." Low bridge, all heads went down, the laboring bark sped on. A mill we passed church, hamlets and fields of corn, and all the world came out to see, and chased along the shore, crying, "Alas, alas, the sheeted rain, the wind, the tempest roar! Alas, the gallant ship and crew, can nothing help them more?" And from our deck sad eyes looked out across the stormy scene, the tossing wake of billows aft, the bending forests green, the chickens sheltered under carts, in lee of barn the cows, the scurrying swine with straw in mouth, the wild spray from our bows. She balances, she wavers, now let her go about. If she misses, stays, and broaches to, we're all, then with a shout, "Hooray, hooray, avast, belay, take in more sail, Lord, what a gale! Ho, boy, haul taut on the hind mule's tail. Ho, lighten ship, ho, man the pump, ho, hostler, heave the lead. A quarter 3, 'tis shoaling fast, 3 feet large, 3 feet scant," I cried in fright. "Oh, is there no retreat?" Said Dollinger the pilot man, as on the vessel flew, "Fear not, but trust in Dollinger, and he will fetch you through." A panic struck the bravest hearts, the boldest cheek turned pale, for plain to all this shoaling said, a leak had burst the ditch's bed, and straight as bolt from crossbow sped, our ship swept on with shoaling lead before the fearful gale. "Sever the tow line, cripple the mules, too late, there comes a shock. Another length and the fated craft would have swum in the saving lock." Then gathered together the shipwrecked crew, and took one last embrace, while sorrowful tears from despairing eyes ran down each hopeless face. And some did think of their little ones, whom they never more might see, and others of waiting wives at home, and mothers that grieved would be. But of all the children of misery there on that poor sinking frame, but one spake words of hope and faith, and I worshipped as they came. Said Dollinger the pilot man, O brave heart strong and true, fear not, but trust in Dollinger, for he will fetch you through. Lo, scarce the words have passed his lips, the dauntless prophet saith, when every soul about him seeth a wonder crown his faith. And count ye all, both great and small, as numbered with the dead, for mariner for 40 year on Erie boy and man, I never yet saw such a storm, or one with it began. So overboard a keg of nails, and anvils 3 we threw, likewise 4 bales of gunny sacks, 200 pounds of glue, 2 sacks of corn, 4 ditto wheat, a box of books, a cow, a violin, Lord Byron's works, a ripsaw and a sow. A curve, the dangers grow, larboard, starboard, steady, so, hard a port doll, hellum a lee, haw the head mule, the aft one gee, luff, bring her to the wind. For straight a farmer brought a plank, mysteriously inspired, and laying it unto the ship, in silent awe retired. Then every sufferer stood amazed, that pilot man before, a moment stood, then wondering turned, and speechless walked ashore. End of poem.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Ballad of the Goodly Fere by Ezra Pound. Simon Zelotes speaketh it some while after the crucifixion. How we lost the goodliest Fere all for the priests and the gallows tree? Aye, lover he was of brawny men, o' ships and the open sea. When they came with a host to take our man, his smile was good to see. First let these go, quo our goodly Fere, or I'll see ye damned, says he. Aye, he sent us out through the crossed high spears, and the scorn of his laugh rang free. Why took ye not me when I walked about alone in the town, says he. Oh, we drunk his hail in good red wine when we last made company. No capon priest was the goodly Fere, but a man o' men was he. I ha' seen him drive 100 men, wi' a bundle o' cords swung free, that they took the high and holy house for their pawn and treasury. They'll no get him in a book, I think, though they write it cunningly. No mouse of the scrolls was the goodly Fere, but I loved the open sea. If they think they ha' snared our goodly Fere, they are fools to the last degree. I'll go to the feast, quo our goodly Fere, though I go to the gallows tree. Ye ha' seen me heal the lame and the blind, and wake the dead, says he. Ye shall see one thing to master all, 'tis how a brave man dies on the tree. A son of God was the goodly Fere, that bade us his brothers be. I ha' seen him cow 1,000 men, I ha' seen him upon the tree. He cried no cry when they drave the nails, and the blood gushed hot and free. The hounds of the crimson sky gave tongue, but never a cry cried he. I ha' seen him cow 1,000 men on the hills of Galilee. They whined as he walked out calm between, wi' his eyes like the grey o' the sea, like the sea that brooks no voyaging, with the winds unleashed and free, like the sea he cowed at Gennesaret, with 2 words spoke suddenly. A master of men was the goodly Fere, a mate of the wind and sea. If they think they ha' slain our goodly Fere, they are fools eternally. I ha' seen him eat of the honeycomb, since they nailed him to the tree. End of poem. Recorded by Molly Vischer in Richmond, Indiana, February 2006.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Marlo Dianne. ForbiddenDragon.blogspot.com. Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full, the moon lies fair. Upon the straits, on the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling, at their return, up the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles, long ago, heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear, and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain, and we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. End. Recorded by Marlo Dianne. February 9th, 2006. Pisgah West, Prince Edward Island.
Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen. Read for LibriVox.org by Gregory Rubin. Bent double, like old beggars under sacks. Knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and toward our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched to sleep. Many had lost their boots, but limped on bloodshod. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas! Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling, and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face like a devil sick of sin, if you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, bitter as the cud of vile incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory the old lie. Dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. End of poem.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, visit www.librivox.org. Winkin', blinkin', and nod. Winkin', blinkin', and nod one night, sailed off in a wooden shoe, sailed off on a river of crystal light, into a sea of dew. "Where are you going, and what do you wish?" the old moon asked the three. "We have come to fish for the herring fish, who live in the beautiful sea." Nets of silver and gold have we, said Wynken, Blynken, and Nod. The old moon laughed and sang a song as they rocked in the wooden shoe, and the wind that sped them all night long ruffled the waves of dew. Now the little stars are the herring fish that live in the beautiful sea. Cast your nets wherever you wish, never afraid are we. So cried the stars to the fishermen three, Wynken, Blynken, and Nod. So all night long their nets they threw to the stars in the twinkling foam, till down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing the fishermen home. 'Twas all so pretty a sail, it seemed as if it could not be. Some folks said 'twas a dream they dreamed of sailing that misty sea. But I shall name you the fishermen three, Wynken, Blynken, and Nod. Now Wynken and Blynken are two little eyes, and Nod is a little head, and the wooden shoe that sailed the skies is a wee one's trundle bed. So close your eyes while Mother sings of the wonderful sights that be, and you shall see those beautiful things as you sail on the misty sea, where the old shoe rocked the fishermen three, Wynken, Blynken, and Nod. This recording was made in honor of Kim J. Vischer on her 53rd birthday.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to find out how you can volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Chip in Tampa, Florida, on February the 4th, 2006. Gunga Din by Rudyard Kipling. You may talk of gin and beer when you're quartered safe out here and you're sent to penny fights and all to shot it, but if it comes to slaughter, you will do your work on water, and you'll lick the bloomin' boots him that's got it. Now in India's sunny clime where I used to spend my time a servin' of Her Majesty the Queen of all them black-faced crew, finest man I knew was our regimental beastie, Gunga Din. It was Din, 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 you limpin' lump of brick dust, Gunga Din. Aye, slippy of the row. Water, get it, panny low, you squidgy-nosed old idol, Gunga Din. The uniform he wore was not much before, and rather less than half of that behind, for a twisty piece of rag and a goatskin water bag with all the field equipment he could find. When the sweatin' troop train layin' aside and through the day with heat would make your bloomin' eyeballs crawl, we'd shouted, "Harry by!" till our throats were bricky dry, and we whopped him, 'cause he couldn't serve us all. It was Din, 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 you heathen! Where the mischief have you been? You put some juldy in it or I'll marry you this minute, if you don't fill up my helmet, Gunga Din. He would dot and carry one till the longest day was done, and he didn't seem to know the use of fear. If we charged or broke or cut, you could bet your bloomin' nut he'd be waiting 50 paces right flank rear. With his mussick on his back, he would skip with our attack and watch us till the bugles made retire. And for all his dirty-eyed, he was white, clear white inside when he went to tend the wounded under fire. It was Din, 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 with the bullets kicking dust spots on the green. When the cartridges ran out, you could hear the front files shout, "Hi! Ammunition mules and Gunga Din!" I shan't forget the night when I dropped behind the fight with a bullet where my belt plate should have been. I was choking mad with thirst, and the man who spied me first was our good old grinning, grunting Gunga Din. He lifted up me head, and he plugged me where I bled, and he guv me half a pint of water, green. It was crawling and it stunk, but of all the drinks I've drunk, I'm gratefullest to one from Gunga Din. It was Din, 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 here's a beggar with a bullet through his spleen. He's chawing up the ground, he's kicking all around. For God's sake, get the water, Gunga Din! He carried me away to where a dooley lay, and a bullet come and drilled the beggar clean. He put me safe inside, and just before he died, "I hope you liked your drink," says Gunga Din. So I'll meet him later on in the place where he is gone, where it's always double-drilled and no canteen. He'll be squatting on the coals, giving drink to poor damned souls, and I'll get a swig of ale from Gunga Din. Din, you Lazarusian leather Gunga Din. Oh, I belted you and flayed you. By the living God that made you, you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din. Gunga Din by Rudyard Kipling.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information and to find out how you can volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Today's reading by Mariah Falin. The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and the highwayman came riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to the thigh, and he rode with a jeweled twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle, under the jeweled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered and clashed in the dark inn yard, and he tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. And dark in the dark old inn yard a stable wicket creaked, where Tim the ostler listened. His face was white and peaked, his eyes were hollows of madness, his hair like mouldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robber say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight, but I shall be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet, if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." He rose upright in the stirrups. He scarce could reach her hand, but she loosened her hair in the casement. His face burnt like a brand, as the black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast, and he kissed its waves in the moonlight. Oh, sweet black waves in the moonlight! Then he tugged at his rein in the moonlight, and galloped away to the west. He did not come in the dawning, he did not come at noon, and out of the tawny sunset, before the rise of the moon, when the road was a gypsy's ribbon, looping the purple moor. A red-coat troop came marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale instead, but they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of her narrow bed. 2 of them knelt at her casement, with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, and hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through her casement the road that he would ride. They had tied her up to attention with many a sniggering jest. They had bound a musket beside her, with the barrel beneath her breast. "Now keep good watch," and they kissed her. She heard the dead man say, "Look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till now on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it. The trigger at least was hers. The tip of one finger touched it. She strove no more for the rest. Up she stood up to attention, with the barrel beneath her breast. She would not risk their hearing. She would not strive again, for the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood of her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her love's refrain. Had they heard it, the horse hoofs ringing clear? In the distance, were they deaf that they did not hear? Down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwaymen came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats looked to their priming. She stood up, straight and still. In the frosty silence, in the echoing night, nearer he came and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment. She drew one last deep breath. Then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned, he spurred to the west. He did not know who stood, bowed with her head o'er the musket, drenched with her own red blood. Not till the dawn he heard it. His face grew grey to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, had watched for her love in the moonlight, and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him, and his rapier brandished high. Blood red were his spurs in the golden noon, wine red was his velvet coat, when they shot him down on the highway, down like a dog on the highway, and he lay in his blood on the highway, with the bunch of lace at his throat. And still of a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters and clangs in the dark inn yard. He taps with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. The end.
His Excuse for Loving by Ben Jonson. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Annie Coleman. Let it not your wonder move, less your laughter, that I love. Though I now write 50 years, I have had and have my peers. Poets, though divine, are men. Some have loved as old again. And it is not always face, clothes, or fortune gives the grace, or the feature, or the youth, but the language and the truth, with the ardor and the passion, gives the lover weight and fashion. If you then will read the story, first prepare you to be sorry that you never knew till now either whom to love or how. But be glad, as soon with me, when you know that this is she of whose beauty it was sung, she shall make the old man young, keep the middle age at stay, and let nothing high decay, till she be the reason why all the world for love may die. End of poem.
Jenny Kissed Me by Leigh Hunt. Read by Ted McElroy for LibriVox.org. Jenny kissed me when we met, jumping from the chair she sat in. Time, you thief who love to get sweets into thy list, put that in. Say I'm weary, say I'm sad, say that health and wealth have missed me. Say I'm growing old, but add, Jenny kissed me. End of poem.
On First Looking into Chapman's Homer by John Keats. Read for LibriVox by Laura Passin. Much have I travelled in the realms of gold, and many goodly states and kingdoms seen. Round many western islands have I been, which bards in fealty to Apollo hold. Oft of one wide expanse had I been told, that deep-browed Homer ruled as his domain. Yet did I never breathe its pure serene, till I heard Chapman speak out loud and bold. Then felt I like some watcher of the skies, when a new planet swims into his ken, or like stout Cortez, when with eagle eyes he stared at the Pacific, and all his men looked at each other with a wild surmise, silent upon a peak in Darien. End of poem.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org. Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley, 1792 to 1822. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lips and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. End of Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Read by Dennis Sayers, Modesto, California. Winter 2006.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Marlo Dianne. ForbiddenDragon.blogspot.com. Ozymandias, Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveller from an antique land who said, Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. End. Recorded by Marlo Dianne, January 30th, 2006. Pisgah West, Prince Edward Island.
Portrait by a Neighbor by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Betsie Bush. February 2006. Before she has her floor swept or her dishes done, Any day you'll find her a-sunning in the sun. It's long after midnight, her key's in the lock, and you never see her chimney smoke till past 10 o'clock. She digs in her garden with a shovel and a spoon. She weeds her lazy lettuce by the light of the moon. She walks up the walk like a woman in a dream. She forgets she borrowed butter, and she pays you back cream. Her lawn looks like a meadow, and if she mows the place, she leaves the clover standing and the Queen Anne's lace. End of Portrait by a Neighbor by Edna St. Vincent Millay.
The Return by Rudyard Kipling. Read by Tay Jensen for LibriVox.org. Peace is declared, and I return to Acne's stat, but not the same. Things have transpired which made me learn the size and meaning of the game. I did no more than others did. I don't know where the change began. I started as an average kid. I finished as a thinking man. If England was what England seems, not the England of our dreams, but only putty, brass and paint, how quick we'd drop her. But she ain't. Before my gaping mouth could speak, I heard it in my comrade's tone. I saw it on my neighbour's cheek, before I felt it flush my own. At last it come to me, not pride, nor yet conceit, but on the whole, if such a term may be applied, the makings of a bloomin' soul. Rivers at night that cluck and jeer, plains which the moonshine turns to sea, mountains that never let you near, and stars to all eternity. And the quick breathing dark that fills the hollows of the wilderness, when the wind worries through the hills, these may have taught me more or less. Towns without people 10 times took, and 10 times left and burned at last, and starving dogs that come to look for owners when a column passed, and quiet homesick talks between men met by night you never knew, until his face by shell far seen, once, and struck off, they taught me too. The days lay out, the morning sun, beneath your hat brim as you sight, the dinner rush from noon till 1, and the full roar that lasts till night, and the poor dead that looks so old, and was so young an hour ago, and legs tied down before they're cold, these are the things which make you know. Also time running into years, 1,000 places left behind, and men from both 2 hemispheres discussing things of every kind, so much more near than I had known, so much more great than I had guessed, and me like all the rest alone, but reaching out to all the rest. So hath it come to me, not pride, nor yet conceit, but on the whole, if such a term may be applied, the makings of a bloomin' soul. But now discharged I fall away, to do with little things again. God who knows all I cannot say, look after me in Thames Fontaine. If England was what England seems, and not the England of our dreams, but only putty, brass and paint, how quick we'd chuck her, but she ain't.
Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson, read for LibriVox.org by Dave Bauer. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim, and he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked, but still he fluttered pulses when he said good morning, and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything to make us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please contact LibriVox.org. Reading by Robert Garrison. For more information on this reader, please visit climber53.com. The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all convictions, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming! Hardly are those words out, when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born? End of poem.
Sherwood by Alfred Noyes. Read for LibriVox by Marilyn Saklatvala. Sherwood in the twilight. Is Robin Hood awake? Grey and ghostly shadows are gliding through the brake. Shadows of the dappled deer, dreaming of the morn, dreaming of a shadowy man that winds a shadowy horn. Robin Hood is here again. All his merry thieves hear a ghostly bugle note shivering through the leaves, calling as he used to call, faint and far away, in Sherwood about the break of day. Merry, merry England has kissed the lips of June. All the wings of fairyland were here beneath the moon, like a flight of rose leaves fluttering in a mist of opal and ruby and pearl and amethyst. Merry, merry England is waking as of old, with eyes of blither hazel and hair of brighter gold. For Robin Hood is here again beneath the bursting spray, in Sherwood about the break of day. Love is in the greenwood building him a house of wild rose and hawthorn and honeysuckle boughs. Love is in the greenwood, dawn is in the skies, and Marian is waiting with a glory in her eyes. Hark! The dazzled laverock climbs the golden steep. Marian is waiting. Is Robin Hood asleep? Round the fairy grass rings frolic elf and fay, in Sherwood about the break of day. Oberon, Oberon, rake away the gold, wake away the red leaves, roll away the mould, rake away the gold leaves, roll away the red, and wake Will Scarlet from his leafy forest bed. Friar Tuck and Little John are riding down together, with quarterstaff and drinking can and grey goose feather. The dead are coming back again. The years are rolled away in Sherwood about the break of day. Softly over Sherwood the south wind blows. All the heart of England hid in every rose hears across the greenwood the sunny whisper leap. Sherwood in the red dawn, is Robin Hood asleep? Hark! The voice of England wakes him as of old, and shattering the silence with a cry of brighter gold, bugles in the greenwood echo from the steep. Sherwood in the red dawn, is Robin Hood asleep? Where the deer are gliding down the shadowy glen, all across the glades of fern he calls his merry men. Doublets of the Lincoln green glancing through the May, in Sherwood about the break of day. Calls them and they answer. From aisles of oak and ash rings the "Follow! Follow!" and the boughs begin to crash. The ferns begin to flutter and the flowers begin to fly, and through the crimson dawning the robber band goes by. Robin! 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 All his merry thieves answer as the bugle note shivers through the leaves, calling as he used to call, faint and far away, in Sherwood about the break of day.
The Sound of Trees by Robert Frost. Read by Heather Barnett for LibriVox.org. I wonder about trees. Why do we wish to bear forever the noise of these more than another noise, so close to our dwelling place? We suffer them by the day till we lose all measure of pace and fixity in our joys, and acquire a listening air. They are that talks of going but never gets away, and that talks no less for knowing, as it grows wiser and older, that now it means to stay. My feet tug at the floor, and my head sways to my shoulder, sometimes when I watch trees sway from the window or the door. I shall set forth for somewhere. I shall make the reckless choice, some day when they are in voice and tossing so as to scare the white clouds over them on. I shall have less to say, but I shall be gone. End of poem.
The South Country by Hilaire Belloc. Recorded by Peter Yearsley for LibriVox.org. The South Country. When I am living in the Midlands that are sodden and unkind, I light my lamp in the evening, my work is left behind, and the great hills of the South Country come back into my mind. The great hills of the South Country, they stand along the sea, and it's there, walking in the high woods, that I could wish to be. And the men that were boys when I was a boy, walking along with me. The men that live in North England, I saw them for a day. Their hearts are set upon the waste fells, their skies are fast and grey. From their castle walls a man may see the mountains far away. The men that live in West England, they see the Severn strong, a-rolling on rough water brown, light aspen leaves along. They have the secret of the rocks, and the oldest kind of song. But the men that live in the South Country are the kindest and most wise. They get their laughter from the loud surf, and the faith in their happy eyes comes surely from our sister the spring, when over the sea she flies. The violets suddenly bloom at her feet, she blesses us with surprise. I never get between the pines, but I smell the Sussex air, nor I never come on a belt of sand, but my home is there. And along the sky the line of the downs, so noble and so bare. A lost thing could I never find, nor a broken thing mend, and I fear I shall be all alone when I get towards the end. Who will there be to comfort me, or who will be my friend? I will gather and carefully make my friends of the men of the Sussex Weald. They watch the stars from silent folds, they stiffly plough the field. By them and the God of the South Country my poor soul shall be healed. If I ever become a rich man, or if ever I grow to be old, I will build a house with deep thatch to shelter me from the cold, and there shall the Sussex songs be sung, and the story of Sussex told. I will hold my house in the high wood, within a walk of the sea, and the men that were boys when I was a boy shall sit and drink with me. End of poem.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. When I Have Fears That I May Cease to Be, by John Keats. When I have fears that I may cease to be before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charactery hold like rich garners the full-ripened grain, when I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of a high romance, and think that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance. And when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the fairy power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone, and think, till love and fame to nothingness do sink. End of poem. Recorded by Molly Vischer in Richmond, Indiana, February 2006.